So the next category is solving quadratics by factoring. Remember, this is review. So to do this one, what you want to do is bring everything to one side, everything, so that it's equal to 0. So I'm going to add 2x as my first step. That's going to give me x squared plus 10x minus 3 equals, cancels out, negative 3. I'm just going to rewrite that over here because I have space there. Okay, then I'm going to add 3 on both sides. This gives me x squared plus 10x. I'm just going to write plus 0 is equal to 0. And now that we have it equal to 0, because those cancel out, that's great. We can solve by factoring, which is this method. So we're going to take this number that's at the end and put it on the top. And remember, you want these two numbers to add to 0. We're going to take this number that's on the bottom, in the middle, and put it on the bottom over here, and you want the numbers to, it's not add to 0. You want it to multiply to 0, and you want it to add to 10. And so we have to think to ourselves, what two numbers multiply to 0 and add to 10? Well, if you want numbers to multiply to 0, one of your number has to be 0. So 0 times anything is always going to be 0. So then the question is 0 plus what equals 10? 0 plus 10 equals 10. And let's double check. 0 times 10, this will give us 0 because 0 multiplied to anything is going to be 0. And then, so that works. It multiplies to 0. What about 0 plus 10? What does that give us? That adds up to 10. So now we have 0 and 10 as our two numbers. And so how does that work? Remember, you have your factors that look like that. And so we're going to rewrite this part, x squared plus 10x plus 0, into its factored form, which looks like that. And so we're going to take the 0 and say x plus 0. We're going to take the 10 and say x plus 10. So we have x plus 0 times x plus 10 equals 0. And so from here, you can take each factor and set it equal to 0. But before I continue, are there any questions up until this point? So then let's solve for x. So this is x plus 0 equals 0. X plus 0 is just x. So x equals 0. That's one solution already. Now on the other side, we can subtract 10, and we get x equals negative 10. And so here's your other answer. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were doing this lesson the first time, we said the shortcut is to take a look at what numbers are over here, and it's just the opposite of that. So 0 becomes, well, 0 is just 0. There's no opposite of that. But then for 10, it becomes negative 10 as your answer. I don't know if you remember that shortcut, but I'm just stating it again. So our answers are 0 and negative 10. Let's go ahead and enter that in. 0 and another box, negative 10. Next one. Actually, I don't want to do this one because it's too simple looking. I'm going to do a more complicated one. Actually, yeah, let's do this one. Okay, so solve for all values of x by factoring. So we have x squared minus 25 equals 0. I'm going to rewrite this as x squared plus 0x plus 25 equals 0, because this term is just plus 0x, which means it's not really adding anything, but it helps us when you do your factoring. So remember, the 25 goes on top, and you want the numbers to multiply to 25, and then this 0 goes on the bottom, and you want them to add to 0. So what numbers will multiply to, I just realized I wrote it wrong. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm like super out of it today. This is a negative 25, so this should be a minus. So this should be a negative 25. Okay, so let's start over. X squared minus 25 equals 0 becomes x squared plus 0x minus 25 equals 0. So we're going to take this negative 25 that's at the end and put that on the top. You want the numbers to multiply to negative 25. Then you take the 0 that's in the middle and you put it on the bottom. You want your numbers to add to 0. So the numbers that will satisfy this condition are 5 and negative 5. So let's check. 5 times negative 5 will give you negative 25, so that works. 5 plus negative 5 will give you 0, so that works. So here's our two numbers. Remember that you could totally write it in factored form. X plus 5, x minus 5 equals 0, and then solve for it by setting each factor equal to 0. Then you solve by minus 5, x equals negative 5. Here's one answer. This one you add 5, x equals positive 5. There's your other answer. But also remember, you just take a look at the two things that we wrote in our x factor, and the answers will be the opposites. So this positive 5 became the negative 5. This negative 5 became the positive 5. So our two answers are negative 5 and positive 5. Are there any questions? Okay. All right, that's it for this category.